Let's unravel Gita's world. Hello and welcome. This is the 114th episode of Gita's World. We are approaching the new year, and I think next week would be the last episode that I'll be doing with Gita.
Okay, the announcement has been made.
Yes.
Anna is unfortunately going to leave our network. She is going for better prospects. You'll be hearing and watching her soon enough. Are we allowed to say, or we shall wait for her to appear and then maybe, talk about it? But
I'll keep plugging my videos to Gita so that she can,
I will surely. It was a pleasure having her host the show, and the team and Gita's World.
Yes, but Gita's World
is going to really miss Anna's lovely voice and her well-researched questions, all of that and more. Yeah. But only wishing you the best, Anna, hoping that, you'll stay in touch, and it's a small world. We shall certainly be working together.
Right. I'm just hoping, I'm manifesting that.
Good.
No, but thank you so much, Geeta. I think we've done 114, like 15th would be the last episode that I'll be hosting. So 115 episodes, so much I've learned. I was so skeptical hosting a podcast on geopolitics, considering, it's not an easy
it's a niche
domain.
Area.
It's a niche area. But thank God I did it. Thank God.
I'm sure our viewers and our listeners loved it. Yeah. Initially, we were not a video podcast. We were just an audio podcast. So I used to keep telling Anna.
Why?
Why? Why video is a different thing. Yeah. But even the audio podcast, first you have an introduction with this lovely husky voice. And then, comes my voice.
Oh, please.
So it's just, I'm sure, everybody's going to miss you here. And our listeners and viewers.
Yeah. I'm just overwhelmed, but yes, I'll be definitely missing this. It's more of my loss that I'm considering that. But Gita's World will definitely stay on. Gita is here. There will be a new host. Let that be a surprise. And I'm sure you must be,
come New Year.
Acquainted with the face, because he is so much into geopolitics. There's a he, yes. So let that be a surprise. I'll not disclose much.
So in January, we'll have another person co-hosting the show.
Yes. So I'm super excited because, I won't be here, but I'll be watching. I produce a lot
many other shows. And I'm sure she'll
shows.
call and message, and what was this? This is not produced properly.
Oh, yeah.
This is not done well, so on and so forth.
Well, yeah, I'm hoping that. But, this festive season is on. We're still in that mood.
Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to all of you.
Yeah. But there's something, this week we are discussing Germany, and I'm sure many of you would be acquainted with this Christmas attack, as it's being called. And as far as I read, I think in the past few years, there have been total of 7 attacks.
Yes.
7 Christmas attacks, actually. 4 in Germany, 3 in...
Well, yes, in fact, Germany has been, Europe in total has been bearing the brunt of such attacks, extremist attacks by radicals, fundamentalists, far-right, activists or right-wingers. So, yes, it has been a real concern.
Right. Although we have actually talked about in our previous episodes about this far-right wave, the proliferation of the far-right leaders in Europe. But this is something, I think Germany being the focus here, although we'll touch upon France, Sweden, Italy, considering, there's this alleged idea of Islamization of Europe that is being called. So let's try to understand that. But before that, I'm just setting up, what exactly happened. So this is...
and what has triggered this entire conversation in Germany yet again. And it is an election year.
It is an election year. It is a snap election, actually. Yes, it's happening before because the coalition fell.
Yes.
Right. So on 20th of December, actually, there was this it's a usual... Christmas
Christmas market.
Yeah, in a city called Magdeburg. And I'll try to understand from you, Geeta, why this city, considering, okay, let me just clear this. So, it's a Christmas market. There's an SUV who plows through, at a very raging speed. And as the eyewitnesses have described that, they, like, as it plowed through, there was like a child who was flung into air, and it has killed 5 people, 4 women, 1 child. And there have been like several injured, including 7 Indians.
Yes.
So who exactly is the suspect? The suspect is a 50-year-old. There are many outlets who have actually not named it, but I've read who have named it. So let's just name him. He is called Taleb Al-Abdulmohsen. He's a 50-year-old
Yes.
from Saudi. So he is a Muslim. He's a Shia Muslim in a Sunni-dominated Saudi. But he fled to Germany, I think, in 2006. Yeah. And he was granted asylum a decade later in Germany. Now it becomes like a very weird kind of a case, very paradoxical. So you tell me and, make me understand this, because at first it would look like, okay, this is an ordinary incident. Why are we giving so much limelight? But no. Looking at the suspect's history of, because he was very much active on Twitter, on X, and he has done like a series of tweets where I'll quote him, where he has said, German terrorism will be brought to justice. It is very likely that I'll die this year in order to bring justice. I assure you that if Germany wants a war, we'll fight it. If Germany wants to kill us, we'll slaughter them, die, or go to prison with pride. Now, this person, he has also launched a website called wearesaudis.net. And if you open that, you'll get this big message. I think it's in Arabic, but like there's an option to translate it. So it says, do not seek asylum in Germany. It's written bold. That's like the
Yes.
larger message. Now he was critical of German authorities, saying, they had failed to do enough to combat the Islamism of Europe. He supports the far right. He's a very active, vocal supporter of the AfD, Alternative for Germany Party, which is a far right group. Now this attack happens, and we have like a series of, this is in the backdrop, the tweets and everything. So tell me, what do we make of this personality? Because everybody is saying, hey, being a Muslim who has renounced Islam and is now an anti-Islamist, he's not your regular jihadist, as you would say. He's an Islamophobic, but he's ramming through a Christian market. So, too many paradoxes. Please explain.
One, we don't have details on, what the mindset of the attacker was, right? And I said that earlier as well. We still need to understand. But you're right. It is political. It's not one where we can say he did not know. This also led to a lot of questions and conversations and debate about immigration and illegal immigration. Well, he was not an illegal immigrant. He was there. He has residency of Germany. So he's not living on doles. He's not taking from the government. In fact, if anything, he thinks he has a right to tell Germany which way to go or how to go.
Okay.
So this is a man acting in rage. Surely it is not somebody who has all his senses or who's completely in his senses, because this is an extreme act.
Right.
To put forth a message, would anybody who's sane enough do such a thing? I don't think so. But yes, he's made his point very clear. Long ago, I think almost a decade ago, the Saudi Arabian foreign minister then had said that you think you know what is right and wrong. You think you are the best judge of morality. This was sitting in Europe in one of the conferences. and you think you know Islam, you think you know what we're doing and how we should do things, and you tell us what is right and wrong, let me tell you what you're doing is what you'll pay for in some time. Now, right now, it sounds really odd because a lot of people will question me saying that, oh, you're trying to basically say that what happened over here, Saudis are right in what they're doing because he had fled Saudi Arabia and now he's here and he's done this. So, it justifies whatever happens anywhere else. No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the debate that's on now in Germany. So what is his politics? He's anti...
Islam.
He's not an Islamophobe. I don't know if he's practicing or not. But I know that he's anti-illegal immigration, anti-immigrants, most of them Muslims from Muslim countries, right? What did he do being a Saudi man, a Muslim Saudi man running through a Christmas market? What was his purpose? And has his purpose not been served? If he's serving a party that basically saying that, if you bring them in, then this is what will happen, I think somewhere that message has gone through. Now, you and I can sit and dissect and say, but he's an AFD supporter.
Yeah.
He's a far-right party supporter who hate illegal immigrants, who hate immigrants per se, right? How does it serve his purpose? I think the conversation and the debate is already out there. What is the debate right now, Anna, in public in Germany? Elections around the corner. Olaf Scholz might not win, but the center-right Christian Democratic Union and his leader, Friedrich Merz, who in all probability is going to become the next chancellor. Olaf Scholz is having a very, very difficult time, whether it's the war, whether it's how Germany's handled itself when it comes to Europe, NATO, Russia-Ukraine war, or particularly inflation, economy, or in particular to do with immigration. Now they come with very strong, with a very strong position that they take on various aspects, and so it does, or it could very well. This attack could very well help that party rather than Olaf Scholz.
Okay.
So I don't know whether if he did it, and will anybody sacrifice one's life to get somebody out, right? But I really think that the conversation right now in Germany is not about who this man supports, whether if he's a far-right supporter or not. It just has gone back to, should we allow Muslim immigrants into the country or not?
Of course.
And in that political discourse, it has helped the center-right, the far-right, but certainly not the center-left, which is what Olaf Scholz party is.
Right. I mean, considering the fact that I think this attack also happened hours after Elon Musk had tweeted that only AFD, only the Alternative for Germany party can save Germany.
But then, Anna, it's very interesting. The chief prosecutor, Walter Nopens, did indicate, a Saudi connection. And he said in a press conference that it looks like the background to the crime could have been dissatisfaction with the treatment of Saudi Arabian refugees in Germany. So there are layers. And he adds what is deeper behind this is the subject of the investigation itself.
Okay.
So he is actually saying that, with certainty that the perpetrator was obviously Islamophobic.
Right.
So they're actually saying it. I'm just saying that they're actually saying it, right? The Interior Minister, Nancy Faeser, actually says that authorities can say with certainty that the perpetrator was obviously Islamophobic. So they're actually saying that he was unhappy with how Saudi Arabians, and he's a Shia Saudi Arabian person. He's not a Sunni. The dominant sect in Saudi is Sunni.
Yeah.
So here he is a Shia man, obviously fled the country, lives over here,
But
and now
then
thinks
it
that
is
the
certified
refugees
that
are not
he
being...
No, it is certified that he has renounced Islam.
Yeah, that's what the authorities over here are saying. I'm just trying to say that the conversation today is not about whether if, and this, what are the authorities trying to do? They're basically trying to say, well, don't treat this as a Muslim man having gone and killed. Because that would just mean that you're going to go back to the conversation. This is Olaf Scholz government.
Right.
So the minister is Olaf Scholz minister.
Yeah.
They're just saying that don't make it look, and they're calling him an Islamophobe.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because this is Olaf Scholz government. So they're saying, not because, I'm sorry, let me correct myself. They're saying it, and he very well must be, but they're trying to bring that point out is because they're saying don't connect this to illegal immigration or immigration or the fact that Germany welcomes Muslim immigrants and refugees. Don't connect it to
Don't
this
connect
because
that.
he is not a Muslim.
He's not a Muslim, yeah.
It's not a Muslim killing, which is what you're saying. But is that what the conversation is?
No,
It won't be.
it won't be, yeah.
If a Saudi Muslim man, even if he's a convert or an atheist or somebody who's renounced
He'll always be
Islam,
a Muslim. Huh?
it doesn't matter. Now, the political parties over here are going to use this because this is not a small incident where you're ramming an entire. So, in many ways, by doing this, I think the man has actually helped the far right.
Wow. Okay.
And what Olaf Scholz,
but then
what Olaf Scholz government is trying to do is damage control right now because they have nothing else.
So, like you said, whatever he has done is helping the far right. And in any which case, he was
Far
true
right,
far right.
But then, if it were a far right German who'd gone on a killing spree into a Muslim colony, would that have helped their case? Or if it would have been a far right German guy who had gone and killed people in the Christmas market.
No.
But if it's a Saudi man, everything else has been pushed aside. And what is really right now in the fore?
Holding ground is the Muslim identity.
Is the immigration debate.
Immigration debate, yes.
That should refugees be allowed in,
Muslim
how many
refugees.
Muslim
Yes.
refugees be allowed in, how many and what not, right?
But
So, and Germany has actually been very, very kind. Also Angela Merkel's
yes. Oh, yeah.
Leadership, they were very clear, and she was very clear that if there are people who need it, we'll put them in camps. They're refugee camps.
Right.
But they should be allowed. It's only the most humane thing to do, according to her. But that's not what's happening right now, because if you see how there is a narrative building of how crime has been connected to refugees, increase in crime rate has been connected to immigrants, particularly illegal immigrants. Now that conversation is not going away. And if somebody such as a Saudi man with a Muslim name, it's not even like he changed his name, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
His name is intact. Yeah.
I think it serves their purpose.
Yeah. Right.
During elections.
Right.
It does not take away from that. Now people can keep saying, but he was a supporter, he owed allegiance to, or he pledged his loyalty to one party or the other from the far right. It doesn't make a difference. The damage for this administration is done.
Is done. Like you said, Germany has been kind in terms of, the immigration rules. I think just like we discussed, the Syria, Assad regime has fallen in Syria. But days after that, the government in Berlin has frozen asylum applications from Syrians. So isn't that paradoxical? Like, does it, you think that, does it mean that?
No, that has to do with the current situation.
Okay.
Because the Assad regime fell, you don't know who's going to enter the country. And in whose name.
Okay, because this is a very sensitive situation. That's why.
There was an entire report on CNN which turned out to be fake. I'm not going to name the anchor, but the person went ahead and interviewed a so-called prisoner who was in the dark for so many days, turns out was an Assad spy
Right.
or intel guy or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you don't know who will come in. Security is a concern. Everybody's banned
Okay.
because the moment this HTS took over, you will have many of Assad's men who Assad left and left to fend for themselves, and has gone to Russia are still in Syria. They fear persecution. So will they not, like the other Syrian refugees who are now turning back and going back from Turkey to Syria, there'd be so many who'd feel like they'd be persecuted and they should be leaving the country. But if they leave the country, they were all Assad supporters. Do you think all these countries that supported the anti-Assad groups,
Right, yeah.
people who were persecuted by Assad, and that's why they came to countries in Europe, particularly in Germany. Do you think Germany should be taking them or will take them in? They always stood against these Assad supporters, right?
Yes.
So,
Precisely.
it's a different reason why they banned. It has it does not have particularly to do with the fact that they have shifted their policy on immigration per se, or on helping refugees per se. So that shift has not happened. It has very particularly to do with who they want to help. Assad supporters coming into Germany is not an option.
Got it. Let's also talk about
Even if they are persecuted in Syria, even if they fear persecution,
in Syria,
torture, so on and so forth in Syria, Assad supporters will not be welcome in Europe.
in Europe. Yes. Let's also talk about this the security lapse, or strategic oversight, as people are calling it, because German Chancellor, he's under fire for alleged security lapses that people are
because they're
saying that they have
they had information.
they had information, and Saudi Arabia had warned Germany about it, like as early as 2007. They said that.
But I think the warning must have been that this person, about the person, and
No, they're saying that it's his radical views
Yes.
that you should be wary of, or
Yes.
in fact, they labeled him a fugitive, but Germany refused the request to extradite him, saying
he was a radical. He did not believe in the Sunni Wahhabi Islam. He's Shia. Then he did not believe in Islam after coming to Germany. And maybe because he didn't believe, he wanted to go into the far right. Becoming far right in your politics in Germany, in Europe. You see, one diplomat, Anna, told me when we said, why are you doing this? Do you not care or concerns about, certain issues that concern India? And one of the diplomats said, we hear things different from how you hear things. If somebody abuses, so suppose in America, and assume this is an American diplomat, which he wasn't, but I'm giving you an example of America. So they hear things differently because suppose we abuse or use derogatory language for our prime minister, we will be taken to task, right? But in America, it's freedom of speech. People talk ill about Trump all the time, President-elect now, or President Biden. I mean, the names he's been called by the Republican camp.
yeah.
And what all they hear is there a threat to his life? Have they threatened? Have they done anything? Have they caused bodily harm? If they have not, it's freedom of speech. So Saudi Arabia, and I was saying this only, the foreign minister then had said that you will pay for it. You don't know when and how, but you're going to pay for it. Now the politics of this country has changed. Should this man have not been a Shia and would have come with the same views, it would have been different. Because maybe he would not have changed his religion. Maybe he would not have, if he would have not been far right. Even if he was far right, but he did not do such a thing, he would just have been a political animal, right? Just a political person. But over here, because he carried out this act, now everybody can say that, oh, you see, this happened, we warned you. Back then, them warning Germany about him, although they say that there's some specific information. We do not have details about that.
No, there was
Either way, they're saying it because they think he will harm. These guys are seeing only him and his political inclination changing to becoming right.
right.
Now, there are so many German right-wingers, so many German center-right party supporters.
Yeah, of course. But then he's coming with a Saudi identity.
No,
The-
but
the Shia identity.
he's now a resident of Germany.
Now he's a
no
resident of
longer a
Germany.
Saudi national,
But they
right?
also want him to be declared a fugitive in 2007.
Back then.
Back then.
And how would they know that in 2024 he'll take his SUV out and ram into people and into stores and Christmas market shops?
I mean,
You don't know that. You don't know whether he was, and he was a practicing doctor.
psychiatrist.
And he is around 50 and psychiatrist nonetheless, right?
Yeah.
I mean, no less. And he is 50.
Huh.
So something must have, somewhere. I'm just saying that just because there was intelligence, whether if there was specific intelligence that at this hour today he's going to pick up his car and go.
No,
Just because his views have changed and become far right and Islamophobic does not mean that Olaf Scholz's government had the right to
Yeah.
pick him up.
yeah.
For them, it's just he's free to choose
Whatever he wants.
his politics. He's free to say what he wants to. So he said so much about Germany.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. In India,
In India, would
it
have
could
been treated
amount
differently.
to a case. In Germany, they hear things and see things differently.
Wow.
So that's what a diplomat was explaining, that what can be an affront and borderline crime in India might not be the same. Another example, like our national flag.
Yeah.
Our national flag, and as should be expected, is respected on. You cannot do anything. You cannot even wear it, don it, or it can't be part of your attire.
Of course.
Please go see America.
Yeah.
The things they do with the national flag. The places you'll see the national flag. They can actually make a tissue roll,
Yes.
a toilet paper roll
Yes. Yeah.
of the national flag, and nobody can go and question the person.
I know. I mean, there was this entire ruckus.
Maybe it'll change after Trump, because Trump says that
Yeah.
you cannot be disrespectful, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But up until now,
It's the cultural setting that has to be taken.
So
in
his
consideration.
politics changing and becoming extreme and very anti-Muslim does not mean that they actually knew, or maybe, if they had intelligence, they had intelligence. That aside, I'm just saying. And in a way, I think the purpose has been served. Look, today you and I are sitting and talking over here
course, yeah.
about the incident. It would have been the same. Maybe we would have still discussed a case such as this,
Right.
but not because of his race and religion.
The point is that had he been of a different identity,
It would have been a crime case.
it would have been a crime case. Just
Mentally
about
unstable
yeah.
person in stress
Yeah.
or recently gone through some shock, so on and so forth. And, it would have passed off as a big incident, but an incident.
So expanding this a bit, this was one case in isolation. But there's also this point that is being made about this Islamist terror posing a high risk to Germany and Europe. And like this person was also saying that he fears this Islamization of Europe. So I just want to ask that, like, for example, if you see there was this 2016 Berlin Christmas market attack when a Tunisian asylum seeker drove a truck into a crowd, killing 13 people. There were other several incidents. 2024, in June 2024, there was a 15-year-old who was sentenced for planning an attack on a Christmas market. Right? France also has been like a frequent target of jihadist attacks, including the Nice truck attack that happened in 2016. So I think there would be, like, if you take certain countries, in isolation, you would see a series of sort of these terrorist attacks, right? So, just want to understand that whether this fact that it's actually this, terrorism attacks are actually on a rise in Europe, is it true or is it just a political narrative, that has been very carefully ployed?
No, no. There have been increase in attacks from Islamists, so to say. The Belgium attack, dastardly. Don't just confine it to Europe. If you see there's an increasing trend of such attacks. We saw it in New Zealand, the church attack. We've seen it in the United States of America, in Canada. So there has been an increase. There has been an increase, Anna, because there has been a lot of stress points right now in the areas where these Muslims come from, or Muslim refugees come from. Look at the conflicts that are ongoing in their countries. And then you're bringing them from that culture to here. Not out of their choosing. Not everybody comes out of the... a lot of people say, oh, they want to enter our country. For the nth time, nobody wants to live like a refugee. Nobody wants to be a refugee.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to leave one's land and one's home. Unless those who are trying to leave, with an education or even illegally, because for lack of opportunities, right? Primarily, nobody wants to. They all love the women, the old women, kids who've suffered hours of traveling in little cooped up places, in boats, in trucks, in I don't know, God knows where all, to reach a refugee camp just so they can live. This is survival, right? So don't paint everybody with the same brush. But yes, there are those who enter, feel the shock, have association with organizations back home or even there. Lack of opportunities. They must have quite a few of them I know who are not just landed, who are from very wealthy homes now living in a one-room space with their father, mother, and like 12 other siblings. Right? And making ends meet. Who chooses that life when they were living lavishly wherever they were?
Of course not.
And many of them are indoctrinated into believing that, yes, these are the countries that caused those conflicts, those wars.
Yeah.
And they get into those groups, right or wrong. They get into those groups primarily wrong, and cause or wreak havoc. But they're just some of them. So not everybody is bad. They all suffer because these some carry out the attacks, the kind of attacks. But please do not take away from the misery, the trauma that these people have faced and suffered. You go to most of the refugee camps, they'll talk about their beautiful days back home. They will sing beautiful songs from their land.
Yeah.
And they remember their land. Why? Why would they do that, Hannah? So this conversation is great, because one Saudi man who's now an Islamophobe has gone ahead. And I'm not trying to be insensitive. It's a dastardly act.
Right.
And I know that all political parties will now try to gain political, brownie points from this incident. And Olaf Scholz will continue with his damage control because this works against his idea. And so he'll keep trying to drill in the fact that, but he is an AFD supporter. You do all of that. But yes, problem exists. Rising Islamic or Islamist extremism exists. It is a fundamental problem today in many places where there are, a lot of people who've come from faraway lands only to survive. Yeah. So these are all truths. And yes, countries should have checks and balances, even when they have refugees. And yes, there are many countries who can't afford to have so many refugees when you are seeing economic crisis across the globe.
Yeah.
And yes, you can have tech billionaires such as Elon Musk, now part of the upcoming Trump 2.0 administration, talk about it and say, you see, this is the dangerous trend we were talking about. But don't take away from the fact that there are wars and conflicts that have been caused not by these people. And I'm not talking about the extremists. I'm talking about all the other refugees, the men, women, children, old, who really, really want to just survive.
Yeah.
So don't take away from that conversation. It might be a problem, it might be bad, but go back to who caused all those problems in those areas.
Yeah. No, that is actually a wonderful note. When they say that this, like the alleged idea of Islamization of Europe, I'm talking about Europe here. Just look at the numbers. I mean, if you speak of Germany, the Muslim population is about 5.5 million approximately, which is like 6.6% of the total population. If you see Europe, 44 million, which just
But you're talking
5% of
but then they're
Balkans.
talking about the citizens there.
The citizens, yes. Like
So then
you talk about
they're talking about the
men-
refugee problem and illegal immigration. They would not be counted, and they fear that they can see all of them everywhere. So that becomes a fear. There is a fear factor attached to
Here in India only we see that.
how they look,
Right.
and then identifying them as practicing Muslims or followers of the Islam faith. And therefore, the whole fear factor that they're everywhere. There are cause for all these problems. Please go to the cause.
Yeah.
They didn't come here to live in some tent
Of course. There
or
has
some
to be
shanty house when they had bungalows in their hometown.
right.
Why are they here?
And the idea of home, it's
The idea of causing war. The idea of thinking that we are the saviors and we will save you from this and that and the rest.
yeah.
They went into Iraq. They had so many Iraqi refugees. Right? What did they find? So I don't know. Question why wars are being fought. Question the gun lobbies. Question the arms and weapons lobby. Who manufactures them? Where are the manufacturers based? Who gains out of wars? Because you're talking about a budget that has become unaffordable, inconvenient. But who's gaining from these wars? Who's footing the bill of buying these ammunitions and weapons? I've gone into a different tangent, coming back to where we are, which is the Christmas market attack. It's a very, very sad affair. But it comes, look at the timing of it, it comes at a time when there are going to be snap elections held. Olaf Scholz does not look quite comfortable.
So these attacks, you think, is benefiting the AFD?
I don't know whether he did it for that, but it certainly, I think, will benefit more than the AFD, the Christian Democratic Union, MERS, because they say he's set to be the next chancellor. And he's also center-right. Not far-right, but center-right.
Yeah. So just lastly, we have spoken about the proliferation of the far right in Europe. So if you see the far right sentiment across Europe, there have been articulated in Italy, Austria, France, Sweden, Belgium, Spain, Netherlands. We discussed Geert Wilders. But German, although you are saying right now that probably things will change with the far right, gaining more ground in Germany. But if you see the history of, the rulers who have been ruling, the party which has been ruling Germany has been mostly the Democrats, right? So you think Germany has been sort of an exception in the kind of far right wave that we have been and everybody is talking about in recent years. But the election will definitely, decide the fate, whether it goes right or left. But so far, till 2024, when we were discussing the far right wave starting from, I think, end of 2023 itself, still Germany, you think, was or still is an exception where we didn't see much of that kind of an impact, although we're talking about anti-immigration sentiment, which, is the primary like the primary focus of the far right. So you think it has been an exception, Germany, the German society?
Well, I think Germany and to quite an extent France, these are the two countries that have indeed been exceptions to the trend that we saw, like you said, of a steady, swift movement towards far right. But what are the factors that are not playing in favor of these center-left governments or left governments is the fact that economy has not done well. Inflation is on a real high. Russia-Ukraine war has led to oil prices spiking, electricity becoming a problem. They might have reserves for this winter, but it's going to be very harsh on them in the coming years, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of factors that have not played to the advantage of the leaders who are in power right now. And I think that is the reason why you're seeing a shift, not just because the country has suddenly become far right, but yes, there has been a move because in all this, a lot of narrative building has taken place in how the economy has suffered a massive brunt because of immigrants, because of not just illegal immigrants, because of the refugee crisis, so on and so forth. So when in your politics, in the politics of a country, especially during campaign and during elections, the top 3 or 4 agenda items include immigrants, illegal immigrants, refugee crisis, economy in bad shape because of them, inflation because of them, and the wars which have not done well, which Germany is a major contributor to, then you will see a shift. But yes, if you ask the larger perspective, Germany and France, I think today are facing a massive, massive backlash.
Wow, okay. Also, this idea of, the ethnic nation.
Yes.
Owing to the Russia-Ukraine war, which has been like, the left has also that, they have created that void where you can perpetrate this kind of ethnic nation views, and the right wing have actually
Yeah, because it has become
pandered.
unpopular to be a leftist leader. It has become unpopular. It might be unpopular, but I don't see most of these leaders really come up and step up and say, well, you don't even know what you're talking about. This is what we're all about. It does not mean that, we're saying that these things on economy and this and that on war should not happen. But yes, we will continue to support certain humanitarian issues. Because socialism should be at the forefront of any government's policy and decision making. But in capitalist nations, I suppose it's not just the most popular, although most of these countries are welfare states. They do care a lot for their people, which is why they suffer at the hands of massive influx of people, because they need to feed them. They need to take care of them. And that all that goes from their pocket, from their budget. And that is the reason why it has become a problem. Else, if they were left to fend for themselves, it would have been worse for them. You would have seen crime rates go way higher. But again, it's all about how they're all interconnected. They are. Not that they're just being made to look like they're interconnected. They are interconnected. But in that, how there's a blame that is now attached to immigrants or refugees, and how that is the reason why economy is not doing well. And that certainly is something that Olaf Scholz will have to pay a very heavy price for.
Yeah.
Although let me just add that Germany is one of the most prosperous and powerful economically, very powerful countries in Europe.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you, Geeta, for that. I think this sort of attack is being labeled in too many different ways. So thanks for the clarification. And December 30th is the day when I think they are saying that 2 parliamentary committees will be grilling intelligence and other officials over the attack. And let's see and people are talking about the motive behind Abdulmohsen's, gruesome attack. So let's see what that would entail. So till then, I think we'll put an end to this conversation. And thank you so much. And to all the listeners and viewers, thank you so much for watching this episode. Thank you so much for writing to us, and just keep writing, keep commenting, keep liking, keep subscribing. This is almost the end of the year, so we'll be doing an year-end. A year-end episode.
Yes.
Yes, I think that
just
would be
analyzing what happened
because this
and what
year
could
was God,
very eventful, at least on my beat.
And Geeta is like super excited whenever she's on assignment. She's like, wow. But I have like a very tough time coordinating for podcast recording.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It gets difficult when you're not in town.
Not in town, yeah. And considering you're a reporter, you go out and cover events.
But we've done a few. We've done a few of them.
Over Zoom.
From overseas, yes.
Yes.
Yes, over Zoom.
So thank you, and to all the listeners, let us know what you thought about this particular episode, and to all the other episodes if you have listened to or watched. Do leave us a comment or just write your feedback on 8588966996, or you could also email us on pods@indiatoday.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.